The National Heritage Council of South Africa will host a dialogue on behalf of the heritage sector to challenge and denounce cultural practices that perpetuate gender inequalities. The discussion will also endeavour to find solutions to a gender-equal society. For more on this, we're joined via Zoom by Danny Legodi, the NHC Head of Communications and Stakeholder Engagements. Danny is still trying to connect with us as we want to have that very important conversation about using traditional practices to bring about change in our communities. Mr. Legodi, a very good morning and thank you so much for joining us this morning. The dialogue is in commemoration of 16 days of activism and focuses more on cultural practices that perpetuate gender inequalities. Which areas in these practices, according to you, perpetuate these inequalities?
Good morning, Desiree, and good morning to the viewers. Yes, this important dialogue is mainly focusing on what role can culture and particularly heritage play in the scourge of gender-based violence? Now, without us being the judge of which practices could be contributing or perpetuating gender inequalities, we would like to hear and have a conversation with women themselves. There has been talk, we cannot shy away from it, about certain practices that include ukutwala. In short, in simple explanation, one would say that it is arranged marriages, and also patriarchy, largely in cultural communities, has entrenched a perception that a woman's role should be relegated to menial responsibilities, whereas we are in a different era now, in a democracy where gender equity is of essence. So that is the main issue that the dialogue or the discussion wish to spark, that let's have a conversation, let's find ways to hear from the cultural practitioners, from the heritage activists themselves, from the traditional healers, from our traditional leaders themselves. What is it that they are experiencing? What is in conflict from our traditional practices or cultures that is in conflict with modernity?
You know, patriarchy is just a word, but in lived experiences, it is so entrenched. When you start to have a conversation such as this one, are you setting up the actuals, deliverables, in terms of things that should happen? Because it's easy for people to have conversations and walk away.
That is one way of going about it, Desiree, for us to set deliverables. But when we have especially these kind of complex conversations, we often miss the opportunity, the opportunity to allow those who are experiencing these atrocities to actually come forward and speak, including men themselves. So we would not want to put a list of deliverables on the table, but it's an opportunity for us to hear the women out who live under circumstances of patriarchy, circumstances of traditional practices and so forth. And this conversation is particularly important because we need to find how best we can remodel the value of a woman in traditional communities. We cannot allow this to continue where women in the past, unlike what the perception is today, that in traditional communities, women were highly respected. You remember that so were children as well, that our neighbors regarded children of the neighbors as their own children and so forth. And women are our homemakers, they are our nation builders, they are our counterparts, and in modern times in our democracy, they are equal economic partners. And we need to ask ourselves a deep question of what happened to the African philosophy of Ubuntu and how can we revive it? It cannot be the National Heritage Council alone that prescribes, but our approach is to look at what are the experiences and what are the thoughts, what are the new ideas that can inspire civil society, civil organizations, and government to take on and integrate into the policies and into the programs and projects of government.
Taking on from what you're saying, the dialogue's theme is the year of Charlotte Manya Matleke, 16 days of activism, moving from awareness to accountability. What exactly does this mean?
We have been in dialogue for many years with regard to activism against violence on women and children. I'm saying that we need to move a step further, that we have in South Africa and even in the continent created sufficient awareness. People are aware. People do know that this is wrong. We need to move towards action. And taking it from Charlotte Manya Matleke, she was a woman of action. One would know that she has achieved many firsts in her life. And we think that as society, we need to start to take action. And this dialogue is aimed at inspiring those who are in direct contact with cultural communities to take action. When, for example, there's a traditional court is held in a village, it need not stop at just creating awareness. We need to start to take action. Let's report the cases. More than reporting, let us take steps to prevent them, to inculcate a sense of responsibility in the boy child. The education sector needs to set aside a moment to also address the role of a man towards women at a very young age. If a person wishes to go and consult a traditional healer, for example, where some of these things also surface, we are encouraging the traditional healers to give proper advice and also, where possible.
Mr. Legodi, are you still there? We really would love to have this conversation. It's with the National Heritage Council's Danny Legodi. Mr. Legodi, are you back with us? You were still, unmute yourself, please. You were still finishing a point. Danny Legodi.
Sorry for that.
This is so unfortunate because this is such an important conversation. Dr. Legodi, are you back with us? All right, we're just going to try and...
Back with you, Danny.
Oh, he's back with us now. You were still finishing a point. Do you want to continue? Danny Legodi's connection is seemingly not that great this morning. Let's take a break while we try and reconnect.